Thank you for joining me today on the Who God Says podcast. I am your host and Kingdom Ambassador, Ty-Shaun-Dra. Hi, hi, hi. Oh my God, today is an amazing day. I have a very special guest. He is an author, a CEO, a serial entrepreneur, a family man. Oh my God. He has so many accolades. Mr. John Hewitt, welcome. Yay.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
I am so excited. Oh my gosh. Whew. Okay, so you have a story of, it's an incredible story, perseverance, um, courage, whew, just a lot. I mentioned earlier, I met you years ago in New Orleans. You came down um to meet with the person who was my boss and my mentor when she was opening a tax franchise. And you gave me I asked you one question and you gave me one sentence, and I took it and I did run with it, and I just held on to it. But I want to go into, you were the co-founder of Jackson Hewitt. Um, how did that start?
Well, I'll take you from the beginning. 54 years ago, I was at the University of Buffalo and I started working at H&R Block. I loved it. And 12 years later, I was running 250 H&R Block locations. And my dad was the CFO of a public company. He decided we should computerize tax. So in 1981, we both quit our jobs and built the first tax software for an Apple computer. No one wanted it, way ahead of its time. Got lucky, and I found a company in Virginia Beach called Mel Jackson Tax Service. Mel had died. We bought 6 offices from Mel Jackson's widow. So you say co-founder, well, Mel Jackson had died.
Yeah.
So I'm the founder of Jackson Hewitt. We changed the name to Jackson Hewitt. We merged the two companies. We went public. And it went on to become $1 billion company.
Yeah.
So I founded one company that has 6,000 locations. That's $1 billion company. When I left there, I had a non-compete, but Jackson Hewitt had never gone to Canada. And having grown up in Canada, I knew the Canadian tax system. Wow. So we opened Liberty Tax in Canada. So within 3 years, became a top 100 retail chain. Came back to the United States in 2000 when my non-compete ended, and now I had to compete against myself. My own name, my own software, my own people,
Wow.
and system. And yet, not only do we grow faster than Jackson Hewitt, we grew faster than them and H&R Block combined. We opened 4,000 offices in 12 years.
Amazing.
Top 10 fastest growing franchisor ever. And now I'm the only person to develop 2 of the top 100 franchise chains in this country. Between both Jackson Hewitt and Liberty, got to 10,000 locations.
Oh my God. That is amazing. Oh my God. Whew. Oh my God. Well, we just think about someone like me who had one office, and my goals is like, oh, I should open about 3, and maybe 3 to 5 years I can open about 3 tax services. And you're like, we had 10,000 offices. I'm like, oh my God. It's mind blowing.
Yeah. I have helped over 5,000 people like yourself that I've helped them grow to be 1,000 of them have become millionaires. So that's what I do, is I change lives.
Oh my God. Okay, so Liberty Tax. Are you still a part of Liberty Tax right now?
No, I sold, just as I sold Jackson Hewitt, I sold Liberty. And now we've started Loyalty Brands, and we have 8 different franchise systems at Loyalty Brands.
Oh my God. So you sold Liberty Tax. You sold Jackson Hewitt. You started Liberty Tax and built up Liberty Tax. It is an awesome business. I was an employee of Liberty Tax. I was a manager there. I taught tax school. Um, and then I worked on the franchisee side and also on the corporate side. So it was amazing. I learned a whole lot, especially about um, marketing and guerrilla marketing. Learned a whole lot. Um, what do you say? What do you think is the common thread when you were starting those businesses?
Well, the biggest the biggest thing you need when you start a business is you need to make sure there's enough market to support what you're trying to do. And the first time when I started and bought Mel Jackson in 1982, they had 6 offices. Well, H&R Block had 9,000 offices.
Mhm.
And the second largest taxpayer in the country had just a couple hundred.
Yeah.
So there, and what's obvious is there's always room for at least two players in any industry. And so the first thing, there was a niche,
Yeah.
and it's sort of like what we do is the same thing as Burger King does. That McDonald's spends $35,000. They do a demographic study and they find a location. You know how much Burger King spends? They
Yeah.
spend zero.
Zero.
They get they get next door to McDonald's.
Mhm.
And so wherever there's an H&R Block and not a national competitor, or and even if there is one, there's always room for two or three or four national companies. There's always, for every McDonald's, there's a Burger King and a Wendy's, right? At least, and there's others. So there's always room for. So the first thing when you think about entering business is there a void in the market? Is there a niche that you can fill that is available?
Yeah. Okay. That's something to think about. I think that's. Hmm. Mm. You made so many bells go off in my head. What so if okay, so getting into the tax industry and I'm like, hey, I want to start my own tax service. Um and my main reason for getting into it was I wanted to be able to help people in the Black community understand how taxes work and not just look for a refund. I wanted them to understand that you can use it to your benefit and it can help you, and how taxes actually apply to owning businesses and everything. So um, it's kind of hard when you're getting into the industry and you see, okay, this company is doing it like this, and there becomes a norm. This kind of um, what everyone is looking for in as far as the clients go. Like they're looking for this physical location where they come in, they give you all their receipts in a bag or envelope or box or whatever, and say, hey, file my taxes. I need to get the biggest refund. And you sit there and do all that work. And if you don't have the biggest refund, they want to go down the street to see if they have a bigger refund. So it's like, how do you kind of, like you said, narrow down that niche to where you're looking for that specific client that your services can help, and that you'll feel like this is fulfilling.
Yeah, I think that with customers and clients, you need to understand that you can't please everyone. You have to do the right thing. My favorite Shakespeare is this above all, to thine own self be true. You have to do the right thing and for every customer. Now I read one of my favorite authors, Stan Phelps, in his one of his books he wrote, whenever you go to a meeting or a party or an event, and it no one arrives exactly on time. Either you're early or late. Almost no one arrives exactly at the strike of midnight or 6 or whatever time the event is.
Right.
So he said, in the same way, you never meet a customer's expectations. You either exceed it or fail to meet it. And so that's how we evaluate our performance, that we know we can't please every customer. And our goal is just to exceed a higher and higher percentage of customers' expectations every year. And you're right. Sometimes you described a perfect instance. If someone expected a $4,000 refund, and all they were owed was 2,500, you can't. You can try to explain it to them, but some people are just going to walk away and look for somewhere else where they can get that 4,000.
Right.
So it's always a challenge, and you always do what's best for the customer. You know, some Ty-Shaun-Dra, some competitors, and they call it a sitting fee
Mm.
because of those types of customers. So they will put a sign up that if you sit here and we prepare your return, even if you walk out, there's a minimum $35 fee or some fee.
Yeah.
And so I despise that fee. But right now we have a money back guarantee. If you're not happy, God bless you, go somewhere else. But they try to to monetize that situation and take money from the customer. And you can imagine how bad service that is. That
Right.
if someone's unhappy for any reason and they leave, and you say, "Well, you can't leave without paying me $35," right? Then what's the chance that person's ever going to come back to you,
Never.
right? And what's the chance they're going to go to everyone they know and tell them, "This is what happened to me at H&R Block. They made me pay. They did a bad job for me. I didn't like what they did.
Right.
They made me pay them $35 for nothing."
Right.
And so it's just horrible customer service. It makes it easy it makes it easy to differentiate between us and them.
Hi everyone! Join the Kingdom Fanatics community. Get exclusive content, green room access with our guests, and more. Visit our website at whogodsays.com. Like and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate your love and support. To find all information on joining our community, being a guest on the show, donating on our PayPal donation page, and more, visit us at whogodsays.com. Now back to the show.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I can't imagine charging a sitting fee.
It's ridiculous.
Hmm. I don't know. I mean, this is. I guess people want to feel like they're not wasting their time, but also you have to think of yourself as being a consumer. Like you're a customer as well. So would you want to go and not have, not feel like you got the service that you wanted and still pay? So, I mean, people don't think about it like that. What are some of the barriers you had to overcome in life, personally and professionally, and how did you go through those things?
Wow, there's just so many. I've never seen a human being skate through life
Right.
with easy life, right? God puts adversity in our path, and God knocks us down. And I thank God almost daily for humbling me, keeping me humble, because I've made, they say people who have accomplished the most have made the most mistakes. So that means I made a heck of a lot of mistakes,
Yeah.
and I have to overcome them. So most the most difficult thing is dealing with people, because we have the best system in the industry, and it comes down to getting the right people to fill those slots, to be the employees, the taxpayers, the dealing with customers. In Herb Kelleher wrote about Southwest Airlines in a book called Nuts. He said, we've been hearing our whole life that it's customers number one, customers number one. He said, but if you don't treat your employees as number one, then you can't they're not going to treat your customers as number one.
Right.
So the key is that you need to treat everyone well, and that will come back to pay off in multitudes.
Right. Yes. Yes. You have to value people. I say it all the time. Value your people, because you can't run a business without the people that run the business.
Exactly. I mean, I do one tax return every year on October 15th, and my companies have done 100 million tax returns. 100, if you can, I mean, grasp that, 100
Right.
million tax return, right? It's just been an incredible journey, but
Right.
not me. If sometimes I've been concerned at the quality of the employee, that they don't act like owners, and
Yeah.
they don't, and such a low percent act like owners. But if it wasn't for people like that, then I wouldn't have a job. I'd have to do all the work, and I
Oh.
would never have been able to accomplish great things. I need people that want to be workers,
Yeah.
that wanna, and that's just fine. I mean, God bless them, but that's not my life.
Yeah. That's awesome. What do you say? What would you say are your top strengths and your biggest weaknesses in your business or building
The
a business?
Yeah, as a leader who's built, I raised for both Jackson Hewitt and Liberty, and the entire amount of raising money, less than $10 million each time, and one became a $500 million company, and the other became $1 billion company. So I made a lot of money for a lot of people, and I think the number one blessing that I have that's helped me do that is I always want what's best for each and every person.
Yeah.
And if it's best for me too, that's wonderful. But too many people I know, leaders I know, they always want what's best for themselves.
Right.
And so they put themselves first. And if you do that, you're going to always limit the ability, the amount you can achieve. So the one thing, the one biggest important thing to me is that I've always put the others before myself, and always wanted to do what's best for others. And then second big thing that I think that helped me is, I think when you build great things, your job is to have a fairly accurate vision of the future,
Mm.
and then get everyone to buy in. Get your employees to buy in, get your relatives to buy in, your friends, your enemies, I mean, your vendors, your customers, your investors. I mean, you have to get everyone to buy in. And I've always had the ability to be passionate and communicate well enough to get people to buy into my dream. And my dream was fairly accurate, right?
Yeah.
We got to 10,000 offices. So those are the two of the biggest strengths. I
Mhm.
think one of my weaknesses that I'm actually kind of proud of it, and it's cost me money, but I'm too loyal, and so I give people too much chance.
Mm.
So there's a time when you're in a relationship that you have to cut the cord.
Yeah.
Isn't working for both, and I've kept too many people too long. But in looking back, I'd rather have kept them too long than too short. So I mistakenly give am too loyal to people. So that's probably one of my biggest weaknesses.
Mm, okay. That's good. Oof, that's good. I like that you say that you're proud of that weakness. That I like that. There's a lot of times people feel like, oh well, I don't have weaknesses, but everybody have weaknesses. But it's just how do you look at it? You know.
Peter Drucker, one of my favorite business authors, wrote a book called The Effective Executive. And he claims, and I believe this vehemently, people with great strengths have great weaknesses.
Mhm.
And the people, if you try to not have weaknesses, you're wasting your time, and then you should be enhancing your strengths.
Right.
So he said, so he has a couple great examples about, he likes to use the Civil War, and he has Ulysses S. Grant. And
Mhm.
Grant was I mean, Lincoln had hired a couple of generals that didn't do anything because they didn't want to make a mistake. And so a year and a half went by and we weren't winning the war. And so finally he gets Ulysses S. Grant and he immediately attacks. And he wins one, he loses one, he wins two, loses one. But we're winning the war finally. And Congress wrote a letter to Lincoln and said, Mr. President, you got to get rid of him. He's a drunk. He's an embarrassment. He he has his dog with him on the battlefield, and he's an embarrassment to the U.S. Army. And so Lincoln ignored them because we were winning finally and doing something. And he realized that people with great strengths do have great weaknesses. And so finally, a bunch of congressmen come up to the White House and visit, and they pitch again. Please, Mr. President, you got to get rid of him. He's a drunk. He's firing his pistols in the air at night. He's swearing and yelling and screaming, and he's a jerk. And you got to get rid of him. And Lincoln called his secretary over. He said, of course, it's always men back in the uh, 18th century, and he said, James, find out what brand of alcohol Grant drinks and buy a barrel for each of my generals. Because and so they went out of there with their tail wagging behind them because he wouldn't listen. And he was right that if Grant hadn't quite gone too far, if he had killed someone firing his pistols, or if he had just gone over the edge, then, but you have to, if you're going to have people with great strength,
Right.
and the greatest, whether it's a great athlete like Michael Jordan, right, or
Right.
a great president like George Washington, um, they're going to have weaknesses, great weaknesses, and you just have to understand that, and you have to figure out whether you can deal with those weaknesses.
Right. That's great. That's great. And build on your strengths. That's great. Okay. What do you look for when you're making decisions about starting a business or purchasing a business?
Again, first of all, to make sure there's a niche, make
Mhm.
sure there's enough customers, and then you want a working model. You want to make sure that it can be working, and the model it can't require some special skill like you have to have a PhD or an MBA or a doctorate, or it needs to be manageable by normal people,
Mhm.
and that are because again I brought in over 5,000 franchises. You know what? I had some extraordinary franchisees. I had some poor franchisees, poor, that were just never should have owned their own business. But in the main, you have the normal kind of people, and so the business has to have a system that can be replicated by normal people.
Yeah.
They, if you need a superstar salesperson or operation person, you need a Michael Jordan or a Mickey Mantle, or then it's not the business that I want to have.
So as long as it can be appealing or operated by the majority.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Is there anything else that like fall into it? It's within the niche. It can be operated by the average person. Um, is there anything else that would be like
Well, I mean, there's a lot in the word niche, right?
mm,
Niche means not only today, but does it have a future,
mm,
right? Some things are going to go out of business eventually,
yeah,
like back at the turn of the 19th century, or the 20th century rather, the horse and buggy.
yeah,
You know, it was a horse and buggy business, then it had a niche that day, but within 5 years, there was no such thing as horse and buggy business, right? It was all automobiles. So
yeah,
you have to have a future, a positive future for that particular industry. Certain industries have many industries have gone away
yeah.
over the centuries.
Okay. So the longevity of it. What is
Yeah, it has to have a future
okay? That's great.
because the value of a business is really, when you get down to it, it's about future income,
Yeah,
expected future income.
yeah. And especially with AI doing a lot of things and that's progressing. So it's like, okay, when you're really sitting and thinking about a niche, it's like you said, longevity. What is it that would still have its value
Right.
in the age of computers and internet and the AI
Sure.
ooh.
There, there used to, I mean, think about, I mean, there used to be Blockbuster Video, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that industry just disappeared,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So Radio Shack, that industry disappeared.
Right. Yeah, it's getting tough. Ooh, it's getting tough. And then you said systems, so make sure that the business have a system that can be replicated, right?
Yes,
Yeah. I'm good with systems. I can do systems. I love having things outlined for me. I love having, like you said, things you can replicate, that you can teach. But when it comes to creating the system, now we have a problem. With me, I'm just like, oh God, I gotta go through loop the loop. And I think it's best done when you have multiple minds. Um, I have tried to create systems and I think I'm okay with it, but I always need someone else to kind of come in and help sharpen it. What do you feel about that? Do you think that systems works better with?
that's yeah. You described our franchisees perfectly, because my job is to give you the best system in the industry, and your job, if I do my job, your job is to listen and follow that system 100%. But you're always going to get creativity, and in a franchise system, to be the best system, it has to be improving. And in a franchise system, you're always getting advice. If you look at everything that McDonald's has changed over the 70 years they've existed has come from franchisees. I mean, they started 65, 70 years ago, they only had one size drink. So the simple invention of, okay, we'll have large and small. And then later on, 10 years later, they said, no, let's have extra large and small. And
Yeah.
now I don't even know how many size drinks they have. But and then you come out with the Big Mac, and then you come out with um, back in the old day, it was just lunch and dinner. Now there's breakfast,
Yeah.
and there's the McMuffin, and there's the McRib, and all of these inventions are coming from franchisees. So the beauty of our system is every year we get all the franchisees together and say, okay, tell us how to improve. Because you as a franchisee are closer to the customer.
Yeah.
You deal with the customers day in and day out. I know the big picture, but you have the pulse of what your customers need. So you know that I need X, right? And how do I just do this, right? And other franchisees chip in, and we change and improve the system based on the great input from franchisees like yourself.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. Glad to know I'm on the right stride. I would say stride. What are the top three most important aspects of running a business when you're actually operating that business?
Yeah, the nicest problem to have is too many customers, right? And you could have the best. Let's say you were a restaurant. You had the best tasting food in all of you're in New Orleans, all of New Orleans, right? You had the best, great quality food. It's cost effective, but no one has ever come in.
Yeah.
No one's ever come in. So the first thing you got to pay attention to is two things. One is you got to have a system to handle customers, and then you got to get the customers. And those are it comes down to that simplicity, right? It's having enough customers, and then having the proper return on investment from that customer, but also the proper differentiators that make them want to come back, right? Because, for example, in tax preparation, you've been in tax preparation for decades, right? And with me, people think of we used to call them tax preparers,
Mm-hmm.
that a person doing taxes was a tax preparer. Now they've used other terms since then, like tax pro or something. But I'm very much against the thought of a tax preparer, because your job isn't to prepare the taxes. I want you to achieve two things.
Mm-hmm.
And can I give you a quiz and say what two things are those?
Ooh. As a tax preparer, you want me
Yeah,
to achieve two
yeah.
things.
I don't want you to prepare taxes. I want you to achieve two things. If you achieve these two things, then we're both going to be very, very happy.
Um, a rapport with the client, and oh my gosh. Mm,
Well, let me say this. How would you measure whether you had a rapport with the clients or not? How would you measure that?
um, well, I would say because the interaction with the client,
But
and then them
you're
coming back.
describing an activity. What result, if you had a good rapport
Mm-hmm.
with the customers, what would the result be? And that's what I'm
Positive,
talking about. The
positive
result,
feedback,
the
and
two
them coming
results.
back.
What? Yeah, coming
Positive,
back,
positive feedback, and them
returning and referring.
returning, and referring.
So I don't want you to be a tax preparer. I want you to be a returning and preparing customer, or returning and uh, referring customer.
Returning and
Those are the two things I want from you. If you do that, I'm going to be very, very happy. And now part of that is preparing a tax return, but the result that's just an activity. The result you want to the result you achieve, that you know you have a wonderful employee is and wonderful staff, is retention, referrals.
Yeah, big props.
I bet you most of your guests don't ask you questions, do they?
No, they let me ask all the questions. But it's okay. I welcome the questions. I like them.
Awesome.
It makes you think. Is
Good.
you know, I know on the other side, it's like okay, I'm asking the question, you have to think. But even when you're talking, I'm thinking. But also, you can ask me questions because it makes me think, and it makes me think about everything that I'm doing.
Super.
Everything. Yeah. So yeah, returning and referring. Yeah. Yeah, because word of mouth still works.
Absolutely.
It does. Do you think that guerrilla marketing is still important? You think that's still a useful tool in business, especially with social media and like I said that earlier, AI and everything?
You know, there are in every, and again, I'll give you the example of the tax industry. There are 9,000 H&R blocks in this country.
Mhm.
And so it's a neighborhood by neighborhood battle when you go and compete. They're a household name. So when you go, and not only are there, when you go compete in an area, right? Let's say you go to Metairie,
Mhm.
right? And you competing against H&R Block, you need brand name.
Yeah.
And there are 15 or 20 competitors that are all trying to get brand name. And do you think some of them are TV, radio, newspaper, direct mail, yellow pages, click, online? Everyone's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And so you're not only competing with the 15 other competitors in your industry in that size territory, which is about 35,000 people, there's over 3,000 businesses.
Right.
So 3,000 businesses are trying to get the attention of the consumer. 3,000. And so you're one out of 3,000. If you do the same thing as they all do, you're going to be, you're going to be not, your head's not going to pop up above, you're not going to be in sight.
Right.
So, but what happens if you do something that no one else does? Let's say that in that market, in Metairie,
Hmm.
how many how many costume characters are out on the street waving and dancing for
Um,
3.5 months during the tax season? No one. You're the
Probably,
only one. You're
yeah.
the only one of the 3,000. If you can find something to do to be the only one of the 3,000 businesses trying to get the attention of the consumer, wow, what a victory that is. That is so essential to massive success. Is you got to have differentiator to do something better than anyone else is doing.
Yeah. That it would definitely be something different because you only really see like car wash, someone out there with a sign for a car wash, or you don't see a person waving, but you'll see the little blow up things waving for the car lots.
Yeah,
So
I'm talking about a person.
yeah, and you don't see it. Yep.
So yes, guerrilla marketing is, if you want to be great quickly,
Hmm.
it saves you time and money. It's essential to rapid success.
Yeah. And now, I mean, because you want to, the internet is so vast. I know it's a great tool for marketing, but like you said, if you're in this area, how are you impacting the people that's right in your area? So people can know you from New York, but you're in Louisiana. How are
Right.
you impacting those people? Are there, are they your customers, or you have to?
It's a neighborhood battle.
Yeah,
Got to win the neighborhood.
win the neighborhood. I like that. Win the neighborhood. Cause when I started, my son loved Spider-Man, and so I would put everywhere your friendly neighborhood tax lady. I would put that everywhere. And people were just like, what is that? What does it mean? Like Spider Man, your family, friendly neighborhood Spider Man. I was the friendly neighborhood tax lady.
There you go.
Yep. Win the neighborhood. I like that. That is awesome. Woo. Okay. Do you think that anyone could be an entrepreneur? I know you mentioned like with the franchisees, you've helped so many people, but what do you think would be like the very base mindset of a person who wants to be an entrepreneur?
Actually, I know since I've helped over 5,000 people come into this industry to business,
Hmm.
I know positively that some people can't be entrepreneurs. I've
Mm.
seen it,
Yeah.
right? And what I've learned is 2/3 of Americans want to be entrepreneurs, but half of them aren't good at it. They either are not self starters.
Yeah.
No one says you got to be there up and be there by 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whatever. So you have no boss, and so you have no structure, or you're not a risk taker. As soon as something wrong, bad happens, you want to bury yourself in the sand and run away. So I've learned that no, it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
You have to find the right person. And so when we look for people to join us, first thing we look for is can you be self-employed? And I mean, obviously, there's obvious proof if you've already been self-employed, right? And then we look, if you have never been self-employed, then we have your parents been or your siblings, or, are you willing to follow a system? I mean, we try to make sure that they can be self-employed, but
Right.
we're never right. People don't. Not only don't they tell us the truth, they don't tell themselves the truth.
I like that. Yeah. They don't tell themselves the truth. Yep. A lot of people. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, self-employed, you have to have that discipline. You have to have that structure. You have to be open to learn things because you don't know everything. You're going to constantly be learning. You're going to constantly change. Your plan is going to change. You have to learn how to pivot. It's a lot. And I don't think,
Yeah, adaptability is pretty important.
yeah, I don't think it's for everyone either. But I do think that um, if you have that drive, it can happen. And like you said, if something goes wrong, you can't bury your head in the sand. It's like, whew, how many times you want to give up? That's how many times you got to keep going. Oh my gosh. Okay, tell us about loyalty brands. Loyalty
Yeah,
brand.
we have 8 different franchise systems,
Hmm.
and whereas at Jackson Hewitt and Liberty, I only had one each. Now we have 8. The two the two premier brands that are growing rapidly, just like I did at H&R Block and Jackson Hewitt and Liberty, are ATAX, it's a tax competitor, and also Zoom and Grooming. Mobile grooming is just growing through the roof.
Wow.
So those are our 2 premier brands that, and I don't have time to talk about all of them, but those 2 are exciting.
Okay. And so you basically how does loyalty brands operate? Like what is the gist of it?
We're an umbrella company,
Hmm.
and each of the brands has their own staff, their own CEO, their own marketing, and we help them with mentoring them and bringing in new franchises for them, doing the accounting, HR, and just and helping them cross market.
Okay. Okay. And so these brands are in different industries. They're not in just
Exactly.
okay. Okay. That's nice. Okay. Cool. So how do you begin working with a brand, or do you guys acquire the brand, or how does that work?
Right. We find a brand that we like, that fits in our umbrella of that is a working model, that there's a niche for, there's a future for,
Hmm.
and did I sort of bend over there on my screen though? Okay, so yeah, we find brands that fit with what we're willing to offer
Hmm.
and our customers, and cross marketing, and has integrity, and as I said, a great future.
Awesome. Ooh, thinking caps are on. Oh my gosh, yes. I like that. And so you bring in franchisees that can buy into all of these different brands.
Yep,
Do you have any franchisees that have multiple, like have bought into multiple ones?
we have one of our franchises owns 5 different brands.
Oh, wow.
So they're on Long Island. They have 5 different brands.
That is amazing. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. Okay. Last question before I let you go. What do you believe is your purpose?
My purpose is to improve lives. Our mission statement is having fun, improving lives. And that's that simple, 4 words. And on Monday morning, if you're not looking forward to it, you're going to the wrong place. It's thank God it's Monday, not thank God it's Friday. Yeah, and
Mhm.
life's too short. Life's just a blink of eternity.
Yep.
So life's too short. Find something you love to do. Work hard. Persevere. I've made 1,000 millionaires. I've changed tens of thousands of people's lives. That's what drives me.
Amazing. That is beautiful. Oh my God. I thank you so much. Thank you for
I thank you very much. Let's do it again, and next time in New Orleans, we can get together again, hopefully.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, tell the people where they can connect with you and Loyalty Brands.
Yep, just John at loyaltybrands.com. JOHN
Oh,
at loyaltybrands.com.
awesome. Thank you again for spending time with me. Oh my God, this has been amazing. So much knowledge, so much wisdom. I thank God for you. You're truly amazing.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today on the Who God Says podcast with your host and Kingdom Ambassador, Ty-Shaun-Dra. Go to whogodsays.com to join the mailing list for episode premieres, upcoming guests, and more. Send in your questions to be a part of the show at whogodsays@gmail.com. And don't forget, join the Kingdom Fanatic community. Until next time, be blessed and also be a blessing.